process of procuring a listing, and I wanted to start with what do you do before a listing opportunity to maybe get to know your client?
Okay,
How
so
important is that?
extremely important. So first, if I'm speaking with them on the phone, the two most important things are, one, if I could have this conversation on the phone a little bit, is to establish their motivation and their time frame. And if it's not a close relationship or a referral, they may not feel completely open and comfortable having that conversation on the phone until they meet me in person. But if I could just get an idea of those two things, because that's really important. If they need to sell immediately or they're looking 6 months to a year, it's just going to help me prepare for the appointment. So I also check everything. I'll do RPR, tax records. I want to find out when they bought the house, how much they owe on the home, get an idea of their general age group too. So all social media sites, if they're on social media sites, and I use something called Property Radar, which is kind of like Cole. So it gives me information, on if they've taken out second mortgages and how much they owe.
Property Radar?
Mm-hmm.
So you use NARRPR,
Mm-hmm.
Property Radar, and your typical listing appointment, is it somebody from your farm that you don't know personally? What's the middle of the road for you here?
Yeah, the middle of the road would be maybe someone that responded to a mailer, they saw my sign. I may not know that. Most likely, I don't always know them personally. If you know them personally, it goes in a different direction. But the majority of appointments, I've never met them before.
And so if we were to kind of play this out, so somebody might call and say, my neighbor gave me your number, or I've been getting your mailings, tell us about how that conversation is. Is it we're thinking about selling, or we want to have an appointment?
Yep. So a recent example, somebody in my farm I never met, they called, they said, we're thinking about selling, we have maybe 6 months or a year, but we see your sign, we get your mailers all the time, we'd like to talk to you. So, okay, great. I look forward to coming and meeting with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your house, and tell me, when are you they already said in this case, 6 months plus. Are you looking to downsize? I try to find out where they're going, basically establish the motivation. And I prefer the face-to-face. So I try to get in front of them immediately to set an appointment. So, okay, great. What day works for you best this week? So we go right to meeting them face-to-face.
Okay, so the why is, why are they looking to sell? You talked about the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Do you try to figure out where they're going before you meet with them?
Yes, sometimes, they like to offer up that information. A lot of times they're like, we're not sure yet. We're just looking to downsize. Okay. So that's kind of, you get those answers a little bit with the motivation.
Gotcha. And do you ask them, so you get the call, on that first call before you know about the property, do you ask them particulars about their home, or do you wait and have another call before you finalize the appointment?
So I know I could pull a lot of this information, about the home online, but if they're willing to have the conversation, I do ask about the home. So tell me a little bit about your house, they'll give me the address. So I obviously have to, I ask for the address. Oh, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath colonial. Oh, is your basement finished? I'll try to get some, recent updates, a little information before I go in there. Am I walking, it's deceiving from the outside sometimes. You may see, I just walked into a house that looked really great from the outside, and the inside needed a ton of work. So if I can get that information ahead of time, the more I have ahead of time, the better prepared I can be.
So if somebody is thinking of selling in 6 months, do you go out there with a listing agreement in hand? Do you look at that as an opportunity to build upon the relationship? What's your strategy?
So I always have a listing agreement in hand. There are some, like in some cases, it depends how the conversation obviously goes. I had two appointments, one where they don't want to sign. If you have a buyer, bring a buyer. We need to work on the house first. So I do zone in so much on whatever their needs are. So I walked into a home that needs a lot of work on the inside. And, the wife was so nervous. She's like, I didn't have time to clean up. So when I'm sitting with them, I can really, you have to listen. So I can listen to what their needs are, and they want to get the home ready. That's why it's 6 months. They want to get this home ready before it goes out to the public. So I start with what I can do to help them. In this case, it's, listen, I offer pre-home inspection, cleaning service. I will do everything, hold your hand to make sure that your home, once it goes on the market, it's ready for professional photos. I'll help stage the home. Depending whatever that need is, I really try to offer my help and my expertise. I mean, if you're walking into a home that's picture perfect and ready to go on the market tomorrow, it's a completely different conversation. So you really have to be ready for both scenarios.
Okay. And do you look them up on LinkedIn and social profiles ahead of time as well?
Yes, as much as I can find out about them. I had another appointment where I didn't even know that, our kids were friends. I have a daughter in college and one that's already married, but they were in the same high school together. So you try to find a connection. If you can find any little connection there, it's always helpful, because I'm not coming in just as a salesperson. Now I'm a neighbor. Now I'm a friend. We have a different relationship.
Fantastic. Now, is there anything else, like in terms of getting to know the customer, that you would want to point out here before I go to one of your colleagues? And then I want to kind of keep the subject matter consistent.
So just, use all your resources. Even in like local networking groups, or I have people I can confide in, that I can ask, hey, do you know this person? So-and-so. So I just try to find a common link, if at all possible, wherever that may be. And you can find those on social media and LinkedIn, especially if you can, if you're dealing with an engineer, a stay-at-home mom, what type of personality that you may be dealing with.
And you mentioned a resource property, something that you use, Property Shark or something?
Property Radar.
Radar. Okay. And what specifically do you use that for?
So it does give, and you can unlock information. So it's just it's a nice easy way to get all of the property information. But you can also unlock social sites. It will give demographics, like the age of the person. It will give property demographics. It will also give people demographics.
And is that a subscription-based product?
It is.
And approximately
$99 a month. And what it does too is, like, I put my farm in there, so it monitors the farm. So I can get an alert if something changed in someone's life, like they took out, they refinanced, they took out a mortgage, death, divorce. If something happened, it monitors the farm.
And would you be able to put a guesstimate on, do you get 1 to 3 transactions a year from that, or it's too hard to tell?
Yeah, I don't really attribute it to getting the transactions, but I certainly, it helps me know, be in the know of what's going on in the farm area that I spend all my marketing money on.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you sharing. Eric, are you on yet? Or
I'm
Bobby?
I'm on. Eric's
All right, so we're going to go to South Florida here. Eric Pruitt. Danielle is our top team and a top agent in our Tinton Falls office in Monmouth County, and Eric is in Palm Beach Gardens in lovely South Florida. So Eric, the question that we talked about, what do you do to get to know your customer before a listing appointment? And maybe to give us the context, you tell us, like, how do you normally get introduced to an appointment? Is it a call or a referral?
A lot of times, I'd say probably the majority of our appointments are referrals from past clients or referral from the past client. So I just asked them what they could tell me about them. I do a search on the tax rolls to find about the house. I don't like social media. I can see from this, I'm gonna have to change that affirmation. Because there's a lot of knowledge and stuff there that I really need to tap into that. So one of the things I learned from Danielle, thank you, is that I'm gonna have my assistant search social media before I go to the appointment and print out anything that's pertinent to me to help let me know how to better serve them. I do use HomeBot. Okay, some of the things I use HomeBot to come up with a value, Zillow's value, RPR's value. So I almost got like a triangle of values, 3 different values before I even go out to see the house. When I'm talking to them, I'm trying to get as much information as possible out of them. And saying that, I kind of like picked up on Danielle said, I like to get out there face to face. Because it's really easy for me to offend somebody on the phone, which I don't quite do as much in person.
And do you primarily deal with primary or secondary homes?
That's a good, I would say lately in the last year or two, it's probably been more primary homes. Because it's the people selling, it's the people coming in. Because what's happened here is we've had that influx from New York, New Jersey, in California, that anyone's bought in the last couple of years, they're generally going back to the agent that sold them the house that was a friend of theirs from New York, New Jersey, or California. So I'm not getting a lot of people have flipped in the last year or two.
So I'm going to lean into Danielle and ask you if you could talk about Julie's strategy for compensating for that scenario, if you recall.
I'm sorry, Julie's strategy for compensating what scenario?
So like if we're the listing agent and somebody brings the buyer, right, and then 2 or 3 years later, Eric's saying that they often go back to the buyer's agent. You know, she had that little box and she kind of
oh sure. Yeah, so she you know, it just happened to myself as well, where, you know, you get a listing in your farm and then someone else has the buyer, but it's still your farm. You know, it happens a lot because this is the area that you're farming in. So I find it very common. You know, you want to, obviously you're not trying to step on the other agent's toes, but she does welcome them. You know, you want to welcome the new buyers into the area, the marketplace. What she did was she prepared she has this little box of kind of coupons of things in the area where you know, you can get a free haircut or 20% off a dinner. She had one that was a free clam bake, and she worked it out with all of the local businesses, but she gave it to, so she had the listing, but she did leave it, you know, she didn't do a big presentation. What she said was she nicely left it in the house, kind of with a welcome to the neighborhood.
so, and I think she did fairly well with that. And I think you did a much better job than I could have done explaining it. So Eric, that might be a tip that, you know, we can utilize when we have our listing sold, because a lot of times that agent that sold it's not as qualified as you are. And sometimes they abandon the client. So there's a pointer. And
Does she leave that gift basket, that box in the home before they close?
She did. She left it on the counter, and just a welcome, just a very nice little welcome to the area. Welcome, congratulations on your new home. Nothing intrusive to the other agent, but she's branded on every one of those coupons.
Okay. Thank you.
So, and then, Scott, you can even, I don't know if we have Scott Kaplan on, but maybe like we can piggyback that into the VIP card. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think that a lot of times we don't see that as a prospective future client. And I just want to bring that to our top of mind awareness there, Eric. When you get your first call, is it normally a month out, 6 months out, 2 years out, Eric, from when you have that first conversation?
A lot of my listing appointments I'm generating by calling expires or FSBOs. But if it is a call in, it's usually a month out, maybe either the next week or two or a month. Very seldom I get people calling 6 months from now.
And if you have a snowbird, do you do like a virtual listing conversation, or do you try to wait until they're at the property?
It's interesting that I haven't had a virtual listing appointment yet. And a couple of times I've tried to arrange one, and then people always say, well, I'll be down there in 2 weeks. I want to meet with you in person.
Perfect. And anything else on the get to know your client, Eric, before I turn it over to Bobby Golden?
Nope, but I got to get one thing I know, I got to get to know him better. So I'm learning that from here. Thank you.
Okay, Bobby Golden, are you on camera and available for us now?
Looks like I am.
All right, Bobby, how are you? I
All
like
right.
your background. So the question I'd ask you is, what do you do to try to get to know the client? Because everybody always prepares the property. Do you make an effort to try to understand the client if you don't know them? And to what extent do you value that preparation?
In my particular business, the vast majority of my deals are from sphere of influence. So it's either somebody that I dealt with in the past or refer from my database, people that I network with, and past clients, that sort of thing. So a lot of times when I hit the door, I kind of have, in my opinion, I have enough background on the homeowner that just is the icebreaker for the conversation. And then as I talk with them, I find out more about them. So I don't really, I'm going to try to piggyback on what Nicole said about checking into some of these social media sites. Honestly, I don't do a whole lot of it. If it's somebody that I've never met before, maybe I will do that. And I have done it, but the majority of the times it's a referral. I have a connection with somebody. I kind of have a background story. And then once I get in the house, I ask other questions and find out what I need to know. So
would you say what percentage of your business is like in Woodbridge Township or the next town over?
What I was thinking about that. So I would say if you look at a dartboard, Middlesex County is the dartboard and Woodbridge Township is the bullseye for me. So probably 85% of my business is Woodbridge Township.
Now, if you take a listing outside of Woodbridge where somebody doesn't know you, do you approach it a little bit differently?
I might do a little bit more research on an area, say if it's in Edison or Sayreville or Old Bridge, areas that I've been in, but I don't specialize in. I might do a little bit more research on the area. So it appears that I could talk about maybe the high school that's local, some of the political stuff that's going on in town. People love to talk about that. So if I read the paper and find out some different things, but if you talk about, for example, South Amboy is getting a ferry service, Carteret is getting a ferry service. So if you talk about that and the impact on how that affects the community, property values, the Carteret has a performing arts center, which is fantastic.
So So you're focusing more on like the property and the community as opposed to like going deep on who the seller is.
when I'm out of my area. This way here, it looks like I'm the neighborhood expert. And then I continue to ask questions and I find out about them.
So, Bobby, anything else before I just go to Sal, and then we're going to go to the next topic?
The one thing that I could offer up were, this is what I found out. When I talk about my 35 years experience, my $1 million awards, I sell so many homes. I found that people don't necessarily want to hear about me. They're there to talk about them and their situation. So I hired a company, H&L Marketing, and they developed a bio and a listing presentation for myself. So before I go out to the house, I get an email address, and then I send that to the homeowner before I hit the door. And this way here, they could do it, whether they look at it or not as a business, but generally they look at it, they have a little background on me. So when I sit at the table, one of the first things I say, I go, listen, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you and your situation. Hope you got my email. And they say, yes, Bobby, it was very informative, but that's the icebreaker. They're very comfortable with me at that point, and then we move from there.
That's some good pre-listing collateral. I appreciate you sharing that. Sal, are you available for a moment? I don't know if we still have Sal on. Okay.
I'm here. Sorry about that.
All right, Sal.
So I'm a little different than everybody. I just want to say this much. I think if we've all been paying attention, I think we could realize something that's unfolding here. And you just see a commonality between Danielle, excellent job, Bobby, job, excellent job, Eric, excellent job. Is they're seeing one thing that they all seem to have in their heads is they're thinking from the other side of the table, right? How many times do we hear Danielle use the word need? I want to get their needs, right? How many times do we hear Bobby say, it's all about you, right? So the main thing I would tell people, and this is going to sound crazy, but just think about it for a second. Don't go in there to get the listing. You're not there to get the listing, because if you give yourself the mental image that you're there to get the image, that you're there to get the listing, what are they going to see? They're going to see an agent who's looking to get the listing. Is that what you want them to see? I would say no. You want to be in the mindset where you're looking to present yourself, where you're going to do the best you can for them to get the most dollars possible and with the best transaction possible. Does everyone understand that? The way you view yourself is the way they're going to view you. And that's so important in this. And even though we may do it by just saying their needs or how I do it, please get into the mindset that you need to be talking from the other end of the table. In fact, I don't even like sitting opposite of them from side to side. I like sitting on the side. I don't want to be an adversary at all. I want them to think that I am thinking from their side of the table. I'm thinking about their needs, how to fulfill their needs. Because Floyd Whitman always says, if we fill their needs, they'll fulfill our needs, right? So just keep that in mind, what you're seeing unfolding. They all have that commonality. They all want to satisfy the sales. If they see you as a person who's going to satisfy their needs, are they going to go with somebody else who's trying to get the listing? I would say no. I would say no. So just keep that in the forefront of your mind while you're sitting there. Talk from the other end of the table. That would be the one thing I would say.
So I just wanted to ask you in terms of when you personally go out, because you have a little bit more of a diverse geography that you cover, right, Sal?
Yes, I mean, I love people. When we talk about giving ourselves an image, I love dealing with people. I love helping people with their challenges. I love helping people get to the next, positive position in life. So, and once you've been in the business so long, you'll see in my opinion, the older people will stick to their circle of influence because they enjoy doing business there more. It's a lot easier to do business there more. I'd rather call past customers than cold call, a whole street, right? For several reasons. They already know your experience. They already trust you. They already have, a relationship with you. So that I go more towards my sphere of influence. I mean, some of us have sold hundreds of houses, right? So why call somebody fresh when I can call those people and say, how are you doing? What's going on? And Facebook could be used on several levels. I mean, we don't have to post. What we're trying to do is what we call the top of the mind conscious. Is the second they think real estate, they think sale, right? My motto is when you think sale, right? So once you get into that top of the mind conscious, you don't have to hunt it down. I'll throw a party at my house and I'll just put out beach balloons with Remax all over them, with some frisbees all over, Remax. And you don't, she like Danielle's smiling. She knows you can have your business card and refrigerator. What happens, Danielle? I can tell you, I can look right at Danielle, what she's saying, just they'll come up to what? They'll come up to you, right? And then they start talking real estate. And now look what you got. Now that's the home run right there, right?
So Sal, and some of this stuff you're kind of jumping to the next step here.
Oh, sure.
How much?
I'm always looking to get it done.
You're always ahead of the curve. So Sal, how much time do you do in preparing for a listing opportunity? And then if you break that down for like understanding the property versus understanding the person, and just like give me a ballpark so that we can kind of go to the next topic, which you're going to be fantastic on.
You're good. In my opinion, Danielle did an excellent job. Bobby did. They all did an excellent job before me. Danielle did an unbelievable job. I would add one more thing is, we have on the NJ MLS, there's a section called Realist. Go right into the NJ MLS. That'll tell you when they took the mortgage out, how often they took the mortgage out from there, and from there you could extrapolate how much mortgage they have on the property. I do that as well. There's also a good tax pot there that I pull up too as well, because sometimes that's hard to get. And that's it. Also, you can see if they've been pulling money out of the house. If we see that trend, then we know what we have, right? And also, don't, keep in mind, I like to, when I first get to a house, the first thing I can do is like walk, show me your house, show me the house, like $1 million house. Keep in mind that everything you do once you get into the house, there's comparison shopping, right? Every single thing you do, from the pen you hold, get yourself a nice pen. From the pen you hold, they're staring. Their comparison show. This agent did this.
Now you're going to number 3. You're 2 steps ahead. So
that's how I prepare. And then my point is, when I prepare is when you walk through the house, is prepare. You can pull information from there too, not just from social media. As my point as well. And if the guy's a golfer, you want to talk like a golfer. If the guy's a construction guy, you want to talk like a construction guy. People like 2 types of people: people who they are like, and people who they want to be like. So make sure you kind of be both of those people, because if you're somebody completely different to them, they won't relate to you and they won't feel comfortable with you.
So do we have realtors in Florida? Anybody know?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay,
It's an excellent tool.
Hey, Rob.
Excellent tool.
Yes.
Rob, it's Bob Dorso. I don't want to interrupt, but I want to throw something in because I think it bears mentioning now. If everybody paid attention, the one thread that I see in every single person, which you have to bring with you on that appointment, is their enthusiasm. If you walk in there like a lump, you are not getting a listing. Every one of these people, Danielle, Sal, Eric, Bobby, they all brought a huge amount of enthusiasm to the table. And I'm only pointing it out because it's so relevant, I believe, in getting that appointment to a signed agreement. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Yes, I mean it's competence, and it's also relationship, and then there's the way that you carry yourself. Are you excited about what's going on, or are you just going through the motions? Rob Durso, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to go back.
One last thought on that. We always have to ask the why, and the why is if they don't think you love your job, how likely are they to go with you, right? These are challenging times, but if you walk in there with that headset that you don't want to be there, they're going to sense it a mile away. So please don't do that. It's work on that if you have to.
Thank you. And Danielle, and I'm going to go through just a few questions, and I want to save some time for the end.
Sure.
And Sal is out of our Morristown office, Morris County, New Jersey. Been with us for almost 24 years. Thank you for sharing, Sal. Danielle, how do you prepare for the appointment? I don't want to go into, this is like understanding the property, like, what do you do? And maybe how much time does that take you to prepare for a appointment in your farm area, for example?
So you mean to do the comparative analysis?
So whatever you're doing, so you have the conversation, you set the appointment,
Yeah.
right? Now you have to have some specific knowledge about that property, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what in particular do you do, and approximately how much time does that take?
It doesn't take much time at all, but everything I said ahead of time, sometimes it's a one-step appointment, sometimes it's a two, but I'm always prepared to be able to discuss price. So I go through all the, you go through the MLS, you do a CMA even without seeing the home based on, based on all of the factors of the size, the age, you do the CMA, the RPR, the tax records. I mean, it doesn't take that long, but at least I go in there with some type of range, and your data, how many homes were sitting, how many homes didn't sell, which ones were overpriced, which ones had multiple offers, why they had multiple offers, everything possible to study the numbers and the data. So when I go in there, I mean, I do know it, but I need for them to know I know it.
Okay, so just your farm, how long does it take? First of all, are you asking if they have a new kitchen, new bath, any additions? You're asking all of those things.
If you can, you don't always get that answer, and new to them may not be new to, what we consider new. So as much information as possible, but you have to stay fluid. Anything can happen when you walk in the door, what someone tells you and what we see from a real estate perspective. So you have to be open to be expecting, you could walk into a pristine house and, walk into a home. I just walked into a home that had a new kitchen, but it was a disaster.
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the farm, is it a half hour of like property specifics?
Half hour to 45 minutes, depending how much you want to, how unique the home may be.
And when you prepare for that conversation, do you share with the homeowner things like Zillow reviews, performance records? Like you say, hey, in Wall, I sell homes for 2.5% more than my competition. Like what type of good?
Yeah, so like kind of exactly what Bobby said. I do have a pre-listing packet that I drop off ahead of time, which does have my bio. It has all of my reviews. Our social presence, our online presence is so important. I think you have to assume every single person who's meeting you is looking you up. So I have spent a lot of time making sure when someone Googles me that presence is there. And I tell them, just, Google me. I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about them and their situation and their goals. So I drop it off. It is part of the packet. Sometimes I'll glance through it, but everything's there for them as far as online, and then I have it in print.
Fantastic. And if somebody said to you, what are the 3 to 5 things you do differently than, the Brand X agent that came before you? Do you have a stone cold answer to that, or does it vary?
Sometimes it's a little varied, but I mean, what's different, for everyone is I'm the only thing that is different. We can assume that I could be going up against an agent for a listing and they have all of the same capabilities. So I truly do pull on, my experience, who I am. I do tell them I don't just sit back and, put a sign up. Soon as I leave here, I'm going to get going, and I have a list of 10,000 contacts in my database. I use the support of Remax's International. We have 27 offices. I start making phone calls. I'm proactive in every single thing that I do, making sure that I bring the maximum amount of buyers to your property.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go to, I think, Eric, are you still there?
I'm still here.
So how long does it take you to prepare for your listing conversation appointment?
Just one thing I want to just say, I got an appointment that I'm going to go knock on the door. It expired. And I called, they hung up on me. So I'm going to go knock on the door. But I just told my assistant, check them on LinkedIn and Facebook. And guess what? They're not even on it.
Okay,
So, but, yeah, prepare for an appointment. I probably have a good probably a good hour into establishing market value, searching the neighborhood, doing a CMA. I do a CMA a couple different ways. Like one is I do the RPR, and then what I do, one of the things I do differently is I bring a laptop with me all the time to every appointment, and I tell the people, okay, we're going to reverse roles. We're going to look at your house now like we're not a seller, but we're a buyer. And I put the laptop onto the MLS, and I do a search of all the area. I'll have their whole neighborhood marked out, and then I'll show all the actives, pendings, and solds, and we'll look at them. And I said, okay, you're the buyer now. What are you going to be willing to pay for your house? But I don't know if that's part of the question.
well, it's part of the way that you prepare to
Right.
converse with them. Do you did you say you do have a pre-listing email or you don't?
Yeah, I do have a pre-listing email that gets sent out as well.
And Danielle, are you able to track if they open it and how many times they open your pre-listing email?
So the my pre-listing email, yes, I can see when it's opened. The like ongoing, if I leave there, and what I do is in our MLS, we can see, like, I just went on an appointment that's not ready for a while, but I will send them weekly, like, updates of everything that's going on in the area. And I can see every single time that they open the email.
Fantastic. And Eric, you said you do an email as well, right?
Yeah, I just send it as a PDF. We did try Flip Stack or Flip, whatever it's called. I got to go back to using it, I think, because that'll tell you when they opened it.
Okay. And then anything else on the prep? Because we have one more subject and a few questions I want to get to. Anything else that you wanted to mention here, Eric?
One of the things that I prepped to bring with me is that I forgot the name of it that does it. They track everything in MLS this year versus last year, so I can bring that with me and show them, you know, because they all think their house is way up here, but now we're starting to go down a little bit in value. And it shows our new listings in certain areas are up 120%. The sales are down 40%. The pendings are down 40%. It actually shows, it'll show like the price of year over year is up 14%, but it also shows that since the peak, when it peaked in June, they're actually down 8%.
So I think in the next question, Eric, we're going to talk a little bit about the logic versus the emotional part, where I think that really plays right down that alley. I'm going to go to Bobby real quick.
Rob, before you move off for this, just for the pre-listing sort of presentation, I
Yes.
just wanted to mention that it's pretty old school because I've been doing it for 17 years, but we had a thing that we used to call a brag book. And, I would have, all of the citations that I had gotten for achievements and handwritten notes from my clients. And this serves a couple of different purposes, but I would drop it off a day or two before my appointment. First, it gave me an opportunity to see the homeowner ahead of time. And then when I walked in for the actual appointment, I mean, they already were like looking at me like, wow, this is really quite a presentation you've got here. And it was like the ball game was over already. So I just wanted to put that out there. Plus, it also serves a purpose that it's really good from time to time to go back and read those notes from your clients. If you're feeling like business is getting, too much for you or whatever, or maybe you're starting to question your own abilities, go back and read what your clients have said about you in the past. And I find it to be a tremendous help, especially, before you go for one of these conversations.
And Robert, thank you for sharing. One thing I would say for especially the newer agents that don't have that history is aim to develop that experience where somebody can write that letter, right? See that in advance so that you're delivering not just closing a property, doing what you said you're going to do, but doing exceptional beyond the expectation service levels, if that makes sense. So,
Rob,
yes.
can I add something?
Sure.
There's a app called Crystal Knows, KNOWS, and it will tell you everything about the person you're meeting. It delves into their personality. It extracts everything from social media.
And what's the
Go ahead.
cost of that?
I think it's like maybe 30 a month. It's
Okay.
not terribly expensive.
So
And it's a really good app.
I'll put this into the show notes, Colleen. Thank you for sharing that. It's really helpful. We're going to go to Bobby Golden, and then I want to save some time for questions. So, Bobby, how do you prepare for an appointment in your farm, where most of it is hyper local?
Oh, yeah, I'm assuming everybody has the listing packet prepared. So, I have a whole filing drawer of listing packets. So that's number one. You grab the listing packet. What I've been doing recently is I may take two approaches to trying to establish value. So if I know it's a Cape Cod in a certain neighborhood, I try to pull up Cape Cods. I may stick to, so in Woodbridge Township, there's 10 different towns. So if I'm in Woodbridge proper, I may be sticking to Woodbridge proper.
How long does that take you to do that analysis, since you're very familiar with the market, is more of the question.
I could less than a half hour to be locked and loaded, ready to go.
Okay, fantastic. And then do you you said you do a pre-listing packet?
Yes.
Email, drop off, how do you?
I've been emailing it. If the person doesn't have email, I would certainly drop it off, but email seems to work.
Fantastic. Okay, and we're gonna wrap this part up with Sal. How long do you spend preparing for the appointment?
It all depends what kind of property it is. Like right now, I have a property I was supposed to, the guy called me and says I needed an hour and he wants me to do the house plus the lot next door, plus the lot next door with the 2-family on it. So it all depends per property, to be honest with you. I do a pre-listing email at first, what you can expect. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, what you expect going forward. It's typically a two appointment listing appointment, what you expect the first time, the second time. And then obviously when I go the first time, I drop off a kind of a package about me. And then next time when I go, it's going to be all about, them. I don't want to say about me because it goes contradictory with what I was thinking, but, I'll leave something behind about my experience. And next time we go, we just talk completely about them and satisfying their needs.
So Sal, if it was like a condo that you're extremely familiar with in a complex versus a single family home on 3 acres, would it be like 20 minutes to 2 hours preparing?
I would say it'd be somewhere between 20 minutes and 30 minutes. But we can even go further than that, guys. Thank God we have more tools than ever. Even Google Earth is unbelievable. If you don't bring a good shot of Google Earth with you and say, oh, I know that the park is here. I know that the kids go over here. I know, I know that Patriots Path is here. I know that the YMCA is there. When you just seem a little bit more familiar with the area and just throw those little pops in, it makes you, again, above and beyond the other agent that's there. And you're always looking to be compared, oranges to oranges on each topic, and you want to beat them on every topic. And once you can do that in front of a seller, I think you have it. I don't think you can't get it at that point.
Does anybody look
unless
up,
it's a social, relationship?
Do we all look up if it's in a flood zone beforehand, right? If it's prone, does anybody look up like prior insurance claims? Because I know that there have been some public websites where you can find insurance claims. I don't know them specifically. Does anybody do that?
You have to look up, well, not that you have to, but I've actually surprised homeowners when I say, how much flood insurance do you pay? And the homeowner says, for what? I said, you're in a flood zone. Oh, I'm not in a flood zone. Well, they paid their home off 30 years ago and they never had a mortgage balance. So as a result, they never had to pay flood insurance and they just weren't aware of it. I've had that happen to me.
So if nobody knows this, there's sites available to the public where you can see if there have been insurance claims submitted on a particular piece of property. nobody knows I'm going to take the time to figure that out by leading into our affiliates. But that would be
Rob,
something helpful, right? If you knew that they had water damage or.
there is a website out there. I'm trying to remember where I heard of it. I'm sorry, I don't have my note, but I'll try to get that along to you and you could pass it off to everybody else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This is going to be my thing to do. The last question is, do you have, and I'm going to come back to Danielle, do you have a routine to be prepared mentally yourself to earn that business, to have processes to remove the resistance that ultimately shows up in a lot of these conversations? And how do you, create that trust and rapport in a limited setting? So Danielle, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so that's a lot of questions. So years ago, I used to, be very nervous. I used to listen to CDs before I went into a listing appointment to mentally prepare. On a daily basis, I actually listen to just all different real estate podcasts, and it helps me. It helps with my motivation. It just helps me mentally with my confidence. And I listen to Brian Buffini, Tom Ferry, real estate rock stars, anything I can get my hands on to. So when I go, yes, you have to be mentally prepared. I do assume that I am getting the listing mentally. I already assume that. And I'm truly excited because I know I can help them, whatever their situation is. I can help them, and I believe I can help them better than any other agent out there. So I think once you assume that role, that position, that confidence in your head, you'll be mentally prepared to just listen to them, listen to their needs, listen to what their goals are so you can respond properly.
Fantastic. And then, so in terms of like creating trust and building rapport, now Danielle and I had actually had a appointment that we did together, and I was blown away by how she could pivot in certain parts of that appointment. For example, the one that we went on was you had to read the husband and the wife, right? And perhaps they weren't on the same page. If you want to just talk a moment about that.
Yeah, you could tell the husband was very more conscious, money wise. And the wife was sitting there feeding her grandchild who was homesick and couldn't go to daycare. And she was so emotionally attached to this home, where he's looking as the provider. He was the dollar, the figures. What do I need to do? I'm going to get it sold. And she's like, her heartstrings were getting ripped out. In the conversation we were sitting there having. So, you had to, speak business to both of them of what, listen, we could get this done. This is all going to happen for you. But I had to emotionally pull back and have empathy for her situation because the business mind was, let's get this listed right away. And she looked like she was going to throw up and cry. So you had to kind of pull back and, have empathy for her situation and be able to, speak with both of them and give them their space and their breathing room to have a discussion together. You just knew at that moment that the two of them needed to be on the same page to make a decision.
I think she was fairly disengaged up until the point of timing came on, right? And then it was like, I'm going to call myself the observer because I really wasn't part of the whole process, but it's like Alan and Danielle looked at Andrea, right? And the whole show turned to Andrea because it was all about the timing and what was comfortable. And I think you did an excellent job there because, clearly, that came out from left field, and those are pivots that you need to make, and they're easier to make once you build trust. Because I think you also had a good rapport with both of them beforehand. And then when that dividing point comes up, that trust is what's going to get you through that, in my opinion, as an observer. So
Thanks.
congrats. We go
Rob,
next.
Can I
Yes.
jump in quick?
Absolutely.
All right. So I remembered where I heard about that insurance report. So believe it or not, I got my note right here. So it's called the Clue Report. And you could do a search for insurance claims on a property for the past 7 years. And the website is LexusNexus.com. LexusNexus.com.
Is there a fee for that, or is it a free-ish?
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't dived in yet, so I don't know for sure, but that's the answer to what we were talking about before.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to Eric, and then we're going to come back, or Eric next.
Okay, what's the question?
The question is, like, how do you prepare mentally to earn the business on that appointment?
Great question. One of the things that I like, Danielle, I listen to a lot of motivational tapes. Not tapes anymore, I guess. I got them on my phone. I don't know what they, but
Podcasts.
podcast, yes. Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Andrew Lacey, everybody. One of the things one of the coaches taught me is when you pull up to the front of the house, pull down my rearview mirror and say, Eric, these people need your help today. Eric, you're the best person to help these people today. Go get them. You're the best person. Go in. And I gotta get you gotta get psyched up to go in and be high energy. I don't think Sal's got that problem. He's already there.
Eric, is there a way that you can feel either consciously or subconsciously that you build trust, like when you first meet somebody?
Another thing I learned from Tony Robbins was mirror and matching people. So, mirror their body language, match their tone, their rate of speech, their tonality, and all that stuff. And you can just really, you feel a shift to where they're with you.
And this is for anybody, any of our presenters, but when I've been out helping our team, procure listings, I almost feel like before you even get into the meat and bones, there's a underlying vibe as to whether or not you're going to be successful and how easy or difficult that process is going to be by the way that you build trust. And I'm a very spreadsheet analytical person, as Robert Garver can attest to. But I think, the whole process of walking through the house, which is, if you were going to ask me to help you with a listing opportunity, I would use the time walking through the house, which is very emotional. This is my daughter's bedroom. This is my older son that went to college. Like, there's a story that's being told there. That's my time to build trust and relationships. Okay, it's not to learn about the house. I mean, you are going to learn about the house. That's a foregone conclusion. But I look at that as an opportunity to build upon that trust level. And even little things like, do you mind if I, take a picture of something that's unique, or the utilities? You have a 220 amp service, can I take a picture of your new furnace so when we list it, we have it accurate? Everything is intentional there to build trust and set the expectation for the next step. So I don't know, Eric, did you have anything else to add before we go to Bobby?
No, that's it.
Okay, Mr. Golden.
Same question.
Yep. Like, how do you mentally get prepared?
Well, I used to be a sweat hog. I followed Floyd Wickman for a while. Kind of got away from that. But last week, Rob, as you know, I went to the Darrell Davis seminar up in Connecticut. And I got to tell you, he pumped me up. So today I got a jacket and tie on, because talking about committing. I haven't worn a jacket and tie in quite a while, but I'm going to start doing this more because this is what I used to do. So the answer to the question is I'm now a power agent with Darrell Davis, and he's the guy that gets me moving in the morning. Now, when I don't have access to Darrell Davis, I call Bobby Durso, my right-hand man. And he always finds a good way to pump me up before I go out on any appointment.
Now, I want everybody, we have over 80 people on here, and these are some of the best, not only at Remax Select, but in the industry. And everybody is process driven to make sure that they're in the right state of mind and they do the right preparation before you even get into that listing appointment. So mental note to the younger agents that, it's a process that never ends, and you're always looking for ways to deliver more consistency. And I think every one of us so far, and I know Sal's going to reverberate this, is that, you deliver value. And I think Sal is a big fan of Zig Ziglar when he said, you help everybody get what they want, you'll have whatever you want. And with that quote, I'm going to turn it to Sal back for a moment. Is that?
Rob,
Yeah,
Eric, Rob, real quick, to piggyback on Bobby there. Every day I dress in a suit and tie. I'm not wearing my jacket here because I'm in the office in the car, but I always wear a jacket with a suit and tie. And women should wear nice clothes too, nice suits, whatever. You're miles ahead when you're going on, unless it's a personal referral, doesn't, may not matter as much, but when you're going looking professional, my shoes are shined, my tie, I got a tie on, you're miles ahead of everybody else who's just popping by in their golf shirts or t-shirts, And I had a friend years ago who told me, he says, he was probably 20 years older than me. He always called me his son. He goes, son, let me tell you one thing. And I said, what's that, Murray? He says, dress every day like you're going to meet your most important client, because you never know, you just may. So I never forgotten that.
All right. Well, this is some great content. Sal, do you have
Yeah, I got a few. I'm on board with Eric there. I mean, if one guy's walking in there, one guy has a tie and one guy doesn't have a tie, you're gonna think highly of the guy who has the tie. If I had to guess, my tie makes me about 20 grand a year. I mean, that's the number I would literally put on it. Look, Eric's nodding, so I know I'm pretty close. That's 1, 2. 1, I have to go back to something Danielle said, which was awesome. He said, when you go on a listing appointment, be fluid. And I'm going to teach you my best fluid trick. I do not put the listing price that I think they should go with down before I get there. I kind of leave it blank. Okay. I go with them through the appointment. I go through the listings today because I want to hear their opinion first, guys. Okay. Based on what you saw today, based on comparable houses, where do you think we are? And then based on their number that they give me, I can kind of gear myself that just a little bit. Or maybe I didn't catch that they had a generator on the side of the house. I don't want to be locked into that printed number. So I kind of leave a line there with 2 other lines below it. So if I had to add some stuff, so okay, you think you're at 885? I was, even if my head was at 875, I'll go with the 885. It's not that big a deal. You don't want to come in, or maybe you found out he wants 885. The other agent said 885, and you got price there on your piece of paper, 875. How are you going to look? So be very fluid with that price. Does everybody hear me? You can make my point. You got it? Perfect. That's 1. 2 is, I think what's kind of important is now that you want to, mentally prepare yourself, remember, you got to mentally prepare them. I know that sounds crazy, but odds are they had a bad day today, guys. Odds are they had a bad day today. So I'm a huge fan of what they call bookends. If you don't know what that is, some of you are nodding, so I see I must be close. Bookends is, don't start the conversation off with business. Don't start pick up the phone. Hey, Charlie, yep, you got to lower the price. That's the last thing you want to be doing. That's the first thing out of your mouth. They're having a bad day, and now you want me to lower the price? I just got the phone this morning. He says, with my buddy, with Clone George, I've been known him 30 years. He says, let's talk about Monday. This weekend, I'm going skiing with my grandkids. Do you think I started the conversation off with how much I think he should lower his price? Or did I talk about his grandkids first? Talk about his grandkids first. So you talk about him first, his lifestyle, what you're concerned about it. Because why? Because now you look like you care. They don't care what you have to say until you know that you do what? That you care, correct? So now I'm a little closer there. I'm already working on the price reduction. I didn't even talk about the price reduction yet. So I'm going, so don't just mentally prepare yourself. You also have to mentally prepare them. Get them in the state of wanting to work with you and try to pick up the phone with the thought that they had a bad day today. Because the odds are they probably did. And by the way, you don't want them to also get that feeling too. That every time I call this guy, he's going to tell me something bad. You don't want to be that guy. Or girl, forgive me, or everything in between. That's 2. And 3 is matching and mirroring. Eric's right. Matching and mirroring is the most magical thing in sales. And if you've never done it, if you've had a client who's like a hard guy and he's sitting there like this, and you might want to take a position like this too. Yeah, I get you. No, I know exactly what you're saying. You don't want to do that, do you? No. Right? Or he may be, sometimes I get a cursor, right? And I'm not a big cursor. I'm you know, just like it's my faith, but I'm not a big cursor. But if he drops the F-bomb, I'm like, yeah, I can't believe that crap. I'll say crap just to make him feel a little welcome, like you kind of like him. Does everybody see where I'm going with this? Because that's how you build relationship. That's how you build rapport. If I build that rapport, is he more likely to go with me or with somebody else who might he consider to be a tight ass? I don't always wear the tie. To be honest with you, Eric, I don't. I mean, no offense, but if I know that he's a construction worker, I'm like, I might go. You'll never catch me without a jacket. Rob will tell you that. But I might not go with a tie because I want to be relatable to him.
So,
Okay?
so
I don't want to think I'm a hoity-toity. That's the last thing I want because hardworking men hate hoity-toity people. Sorry, hopefully I do.
So Sal, we hit time. I want to see if
I'm
there are
sorry.
I want to see if there are any questions, and then also I'm gonna try to recruit for next week's peer-to-peer. I want to have a group and maybe even this group to talk about, you know, how do they present price to a homeowner and how do they address the fee, the commission? Okay, because these are some of the best at earning and charging what they're worth. So if it's not the same group, I would be honored to have them there. But do we have any questions that are not price and commission based that we want to ask the group here?
Rob, I got a question. Ms. Maurice, for the pre-listing email bio that everybody's saying they send out, do they attach like a questionnaire to it? For instance, how many bedrooms? I know Danielle was talking about it, like how many bedrooms you have, so that way when you go there, you can kind of have an idea of what, you know, is in the house.
Most of what I've seen have been kind of documenting what we do in the process. But I'll let Danielle, since you mentioned her name, do you have a questionnaire embedded in that, Danielle?
I do not. If I can get that information, you know, casually and the phone conversation, great. And, you know, a lot of it you could pull from the tax records and information out there. I mean, the only thing we really don't know is the condition of the home when we're walking in.
Fantastic. Any other questions? I want to just give a huge thank you to our panelists here, because this was some awesome content. And think about it, we just got to the rapport building. We didn't even get into the meat and bones of, you know, the challenging discussions about pricing strategy and objection handling. Can they share a marketing company that did their package? Anybody have a company that helped them with their package?
H&L Marketing.
H&L Marketing.
And L Marketing.
Any other questions?
Hey, Robert, I just wanted to mention one thing, that I think that it's really important that we keep in mind too, that it's okay to inject a little bit of humor into these conversations too, because it is a stressful conversation. And I think that if you lighten it up from time to time throughout the conversation, it's going to help you build rapport.
So I was, I'm just gonna piggyback on that, Robert, and say that one of the things that I was listening to, and I think it was on maybe a Bigger Pockets or a Tom Ferry podcast, where the guest said, imagine you have a salesperson coming to your home. Do you want that to be a prolonged event, or do you want it to be a quick and painless meeting? And to me, that was a blinding flash of the obvious, right? Because sometimes we have all this knowledge and we feel like we need to do this prolonged presentation. But a lot of the people I've observed on these podcasts say that they do a lot of preparation, but often they never open it up because the transactions converted based upon the relationship, right? And I've been out with, you know, many of you on this call here. We've done this tremendous amount of preparation, and we don't need it. It's not a waste that we did it. because that's what gives us the confidence to answer the question should they arise. It doesn't mean we need to drop that on them just because we did it. So I don't know if we had a different one set up for next week, but I feel like we need to have part 2 of this, which is, you know, how do we present the price? Because our panelists gave some hints to that on how they address that. And also, how do we demonstrate our fee? Okay, I think the pre-listing package shows the public that we do a lot more than they think we do. And we're going to get to the bones of the content and figure out how do we convert that into a market value fee and getting them to make the right decision by positioning their home properly should we decide to work together. Any last questions before we wrap? This was amazing. You guys, the 4 panelists, they're going to take my job over because they were so awesome. You guys answered all the, no more questions?
I will say this, so I do like the humor idea because some of the stuff is very stressful. And, you know, and especially when it comes to talking price, because that could be one of the most stressful parts. And then I always, my head is always, I know it's hard, guys, but I always try to make the first words come out of my mouth is, I charge 6%. I know it's very hard, but if you got to start from somewhere, start from 6. And when they light up like a tree, it's like, what, want me to charge more? And then that typically gets a little bit of a smile to the table. Okay, you want to go less. Okay, so you want to top age it, but you don't want to pay top dollar? Yes. Okay. And is that the only thing stopping us from moving forward today? Yes. Okay, so if we come together on price, you're willing to work with me? That's right. Okay, well, that's going to encourage me to come down a little, Mr. Seller, you know? And now I feel like we're working together. No, but don't be afraid to split the difference. You know, if they come in at 5 and it's okay, say 5.5 if you could take it there, right? If they say 5 and you're at 5.5, say 5.25. But bring humor to the table, especially during that stressful situation, because it could help. The people are a lot likely to give more when they're smiling than when they're frowning. That's my last point I wanted to make. So humor is important.
So if any of the panelists or guests here want to share their pre-listing packet to be modeled after, I'm going to put a tile on both the New Jersey and the Florida hub for us to borrow and modify that content. And you know, Sal, you just gave us the teaser for the next session about how to, you know, earn what you're worth. And I really think this was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for spending the time. And a special thanks to our panelists. If you have any referrals going to Morristown, Middlesex County, Monmouth County, or Southeast Florida, you know who's going to take great care of them, our panelists. So thank you, everybody.